that bloke, what's his name? Tadej Pogacar has done it again, back in yellow in the individual time trial. Didn't win it though, so that's a bit lame, isn't it, David?
Very close, I'd
Very
say.
close,
I think he'd be very happy. He's just saying he's very happy.
Is he? Is that what he's saying?
I overheard
How do you know
it.
that?
I
There's
can
no sound.
overhear it on here.
Oh, it's Rendell interviewing him, isn't it? Yeah.
And he's
good.
saying, he's acknowledging that Remco Evenepoel is the best time trialist in the world.
Which he is.
Yeah, world champion.
Which he is. It was amazing. So this is our commentary position here. We've been commentating all afternoon on the individual time trial, which should be incredibly easy, but for some reason it's not easy because what we were talking about earlier, it's like a horrible combination of maths and English. I was quite liked English at school, but I did not like maths.
No, I know that. I've learned that over the decade of commentating with you, especially
That
climate
is a
points.
veiled barb there,
No,
isn't
it's
it?
not veiled.
Okay, it's just open. Let's just show you where our truck is parked up today because it's pretty special. Every day it parks up somewhere else in the sort of finishing zone of the Tour de France, and today just so happens to be right behind the podium, right behind it. I think all the big hitters have disappeared now, although actually if you look over there, look, you can might just about be able to make out the yellow jersey there. That's Tadej Pogacar, and the guy behind him with the beard who looks a little bit like a film star, that is Olivier from ASO, who you must even remember, David, from back in the day where you were kind of like...
No, was he there then?
Oh, yeah, he's been there since 1903.
Oh, wow.
Looking after Maurice Garin back then, the first winner of the Tour de France. We should talk about the race.
Yes, it was a lovely time trial. It was a very classic Tour de France time trial. It wasn't complicated, wasn't technical. 33 kilometres, a little bit hard first 3Ks, and then just on these beautiful open roads. I heard Geraint Thomas in his post-race interview saying how it was, you've got to be careful because in the recon the corners were fine, but in the race they were absolutely, you were on the limit, which is great because that goes to show how fast it was. They had a headwind on the way out, tailwind on the way back, and it was really interesting because for us, normally there's a few specialists that go off early to set the tone, to kind of bring the race to life, but there wasn't really. There was a Feeney, European champion, who did a great time trial, but apart from that, there wasn't really much to compare against, so we had to wait right till the final 10 riders to really have a race in our hands, and then we really had a race in our hands.
Yeah, we did. Although I don't think the victory was in much doubt.
No.
The wind had got up, hasn't it?
Well, you say that in the sense that kind of we expected Remco Evenepoel to smash the first time checks.
Yeah.
And he came through behind. Obviously, it was a little bit exceptional in the sense that Luke Plapp had set the fastest time checks, then exploded in the second half. But still, it was interesting because we think the wind changed. We think it got stronger towards the end, which obviously meant the headwind was stronger for those last riders, which slowed them down slightly. But it meant they sped up in the second half. And that's where we really noticed the difference.
I mean, Gary on the live programme was almost apologising for being a little bit disrespectful towards Tadej Pogacar and Remco Evenepoel, because actually, in some ways, the headline of the day is the collapse of Jonas Vingegaard. And you have to feel for him. I mean, he sustained a massive defeat there, and it's sunk his, well, not sunk, but it's blown a big hole in his chances of winning the Tour de France.
Yeah, and I think collapse is the right word. I don't think I've ever seen Vingegaard underperform to that degree. And it was surprising because we saw him yesterday. He held on to Pogacar, which nobody has done, I think, in maybe 18 months. And so I was like, oh, Vingegaard's back, he's in the game. And then today, I've never seen him do a time trial so bad. And for Remco Evenepoel to be second on GC now, to have taken, what, a minute 20 out of him?
Something like that, yeah.
And also for Pogacar to
He's not
take
on
a
the
minute
podium.
out of him. Yeah, he's like
He's not on
12th.
the
He finished 12th in the time trial.
13th.
13th, of course. Matthew van der Poel beat him.
Yeah.
Oh no, he didn't. He finished 19th, but he's further ahead of him on GC.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is the story of the day, to be honest with you, because Jonas Vingegaard, that's no one expected that.
No, and hat tip to Kevin Vauquelin. This is a lovely story for the French. I mean, I don't think he's going to win the Tour de France. I think it's fair enough to say, but it's interesting that he finds himself where he finds himself.
And I'm not going to putting down his team or anything, but he is on a smaller team, and you can tell that he hasn't had the investment in his position and the equipment. So for him to do a time trial like that is exceptional, because he would have gone a couple of places faster, I think, if he was on one of the big teams.
All right, well, as you can see behind us, Tadej Pogacar is doing interviews. Let's hear from the man himself back in yellow.
Yeah.
Can we do more together?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Otherwise, I get 10.
Absolutely,
10
yeah.
same questions.
The same question 10 times. Tadej, congratulations on the yellow jersey. 16 seconds behind Remco, who's looking fantastic. So that looks like a real good ride.
Yeah, I'm super happy to be 16 seconds behind the world champion, Olympic champion. I would say right now the best time trialist in the world. So on this parcours, 16 seconds behind Remco is really good result for me, and I'm super happy and proud how I rode today, and happy to be in yellow.
And listen, what do you do with all those jerseys? Because you've got a green one today, which you've never worn before.
Yeah, and I will not wear it tomorrow also, so it's a bit of shame, but I don't know why it's points for green jersey today if it's time trial. It's not a sprint, so I don't know.
Listen, you picked up the yellow jersey in stage 4 last year, so you're one stage late now, and the plan is to keep that race lead to Paris, I guess.
I mean, to keep it, to keep the lead, not necessarily the jersey, but yeah, the most important thing is to have the jersey, yellow jersey in Paris.
Well, from one guy in yellow who has worn the maillot jaune as a result of an individual time trial, to another man who, as a result of 2 individual time trials, wore yellow.
Yeah.
David Millar.
Yes, I mean, I think it's worth explaining to people just how different the time trial stage is to road stages.
Yeah, sure.
It's called the race of truth because it is the one discipline where it's the rider with no peloton. There's no external kind of variables, if you like, regards other riders. It's just you, the bike, against the clock. And it makes it incredibly scientific, especially these days. It's all about data, it's all about aerodynamics, it's all about everything that I don't even know about these days. So it is a fascinating event.
And back in your day, it was about wearing incredibly avant-garde specs, a very pointy hat, and eating a lot of pasta.
That was basically it.
And off you go. It has changed a bit, and here to tell you what time trialling is all about these days is Ineos Grenadiers Performance Director in Time Trialling, Scott Drawl.
My name is Scott Draw. I'm the Performance Director of the Ineos Grenadiers. So in Grand Tours, time trials make a big difference to your final position. A time trial is really about the balance between how much power you can put over a period of time and how you balance the execution of that power against aerodynamic efficiency. So what I'll do is just talk you through some components of that here on the bike to show how that works. This front end we call the cockpit. And this is a crucial part around trying to get the rider in a stable position so they can apply power, but equally to put them in quite a dialed aerodynamic position so they can, I guess, make the air slippery. They really slip through the air a lot more quickly. This is highly individualized based on the rider's shape, their height, the position which they can hold, their flexibility around the joints. So you can see on this bike, which is Carlos Rodriguez, he's one of our general classification riders. This is the stack height. We've got an angle in the bars. He has his arm pads at a particular position. These are all things that you can change depending on the rider. And we would test all of this in a wind tunnel just to find out how much resistance against the air that they provide based on this setup. You'll see different types of wheels. So this wheel in the rear, and we've got a 3-spoke wheel here. These are super lightweight wheels. They're made, again, to be aerodynamic efficiency. So when you're in a race, though, the air's not always coming directly in front of you. It comes from the side. So what you're trying to create with your wheels is something called a sail effect. It's a bit like sailing, where actually if the wind's coming into the side, it can help push you forward. Obviously, the rider's position is the #1 most important thing on the time trial bike. So seat height, seat position, crank length are all things that you'll manipulate based on the rider's preferences, but based on how they push and propel themselves to produce the power needed to go fast. And then we have the bottle cage. So the shape of the bottle, the position of the bottle impacts on aerodynamics as well. One of the particular features we have on some of the bikes, which doesn't work for every rider, this was designed on some whale humpbacks, so you see some of these sort of barnacle shapes. And again, this is about manipulating the airflow based on the rider. We have another time trial later in the Tour de France, which is an uphill time trial. And that challenge is slightly different. It's more of a weight challenge because there's a short flat section and then a long climbing section. And so there it's about the balance between aerodynamics and weight in that situation. So you're always looking at optimizing and redesigning these elements to work around the rider today. Fundamentally, it's a challenge against the clock, and it's trying to get as much time against your opposition as possible. That relationship between the power you can produce and your slippiness in the air, what we call the aerodynamic efficiency, helps set you up for success.
Well, it's fascinating stuff. today, as Geraint Thomas himself pointed out, was really Tour de France-y at the side of the road, wasn't it? Lots of camper vans.
Proper.
Absolute proper flags, big wide open Norman roads. It was wonderful to behold, and only one race does that. And one person who's been out and about absorbing all the atmosphere today is Morella from Brighton.
Hi, I'm Mirella Marlowe from Brighton. I've been watching the tour for about 40 years or so. Nothing beats coming all the way to France to join in the fun and the atmosphere of this amazing race, which we all love so much.
Thank you very much, Morella. Wonderful stuff. Caen is one of my new favourite towns. Absolutely lovely. Online questions then. Stage 5. This is what you guys have been asking. Robin Smith asks, hi, what's the point of a TT in the Tour?
What's the point of a sprint stage? What's the point of a mountain? It's a tour.
It's a tour. Tour as well. Yeah, bit of everything. Jim Barnett, which rider do the team think is better, which I know is really subjective, Van der Poel or Pique Sagan? In, say, 2015, when he first won his World Championship, would Pique Sagan win the points classification at this year's Tour? Two slightly separate questions. It's quite a good one, isn't it?
It's quite a good one.
Peter Sagan, in some ways, his legacy has been overlooked too quickly.
And also he created Van der Poel.
He created it.
In many ways, that type of rider who came from mountain biking, cyclocross, who was flamboyant, who would do classics and the Tour de France. We went through a whole era there where there was a very big separation between riders who did the monuments, the early season monuments. Most of them wouldn't even turn up to the Tour de France. Peter Sagan started doing two and was such a flamboyant racer. And I think Mathieu van der Poel is less flamboyant personality-wise, but as a racer, I think he's magnificently flamboyant. But I'm biased.
Yeah, it's a tantalising prospect whether Peter Sagan would win the points classification up against today's opposition, but you wouldn't rule it out, would you? Even against Mathieu van der Poel. We don't even know if he's going to go for the points classification. That's another interesting story. Tony Kirby says, does anyone know what's going on with Ineos? For such a big team, they seem completely anonymous and without direction. Say how call it how you think it, Tony. Happy to just sit in the middle of the peloton. I appreciate they lost their sprinter, but surely the odd win is not enough for one of the big three. I think that's true.
Yeah, I
don't even know where that odd win is going to come from.
No, and I don't think they're happy to sit in the peloton. I just think it's very difficult to not be in the peloton at the Tour de France.
Yeah.
And it's not just about willpower and wanting to, it's having the capability. And we'll see, but I'm not sure if they've got the capability. But
feels like they're going to have to sweep the board of some riders and recruit a whole new team eventually. One generation's coming to an end, and it hasn't been replaced with a generation of the same calibre. That's just the way it is.
No, it is. It's just talent in the end, isn't it?
Yeah, it's talent. All right, fascinating stuff. What a day it was today, and potentially enormous in the general classification for the Tour de France. Having said that, for heaven's sake, let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's stage 5 and the Tour de France is 21 stages long. Do keep your questions coming. Do keep tuning in, as ever, on Today at the Tour.